I live at 13116 Yorktown Drive in Bowie, Maryland, 20715. Some people ask me why I wore a sweater, and I said, well, that's part of the aging process. As Councilman Jenkins well knows, your blood gets a little bit thinner, and the sweater feels pretty good to me. I was very pleased to hear the mayor start the meeting and commit to the people of the BC TV that the funding level will remain the same and there's no capping or thought of it in the process. And I want to then tonight direct my remarks to a comment that and an idea that was raised by Councilwoman Burien last week, which seems to me to make a lot of sense, and I don't want it to get lost in all the hullabaloo that's going on in terms of the policy differences, etc. And that is perhaps some alternative funding looking at down the road. Saturday night, in talking with Councilman Brady and in talking with Councilwoman Burien and talking with Sandy Bellino, I have offered my services if the board of BCTV so wishes, or anybody's services, perhaps to get a group together, like a subcommittee to the board, therefore of maybe citizens, assortment of people, to go and look in the next year for alternative ways of funding, not knowing at this point what the Telecommunications Act is going to do. Now that makes a lot of sense, because back when the LEAA grants were running out, that's the Law Enforcement Administration Agency, which was funding a police officer for the city of Bowie at the time, we knew the grant was going to end, and we were working well ahead of time to find ways to pick up the slack, and we did. And Prince George's County Police picked up the entire cost of that officer and added him to the coverage. When revenue sharing was ending from the federal government, we found alternate ways, and some tax money too, because the programs that we were funding at the time were positive in the community, just as this corporation or this BCTV is positive in the community. And we were not afraid at all to continue financing with tax money. So it would seem to me that if the board would so wish to do that, Sandy has suggested that she will bring it up to her board. She will also, and she made a very good suggestion that she's in the process of doing a complete needs study for the next maybe 3 years in terms of major equipment and things like that. And this too makes good sense and is obviously it shows that Sandy is right on top of what she should be doing as executive director. So again, I just want to commend you for continuing to fund at the levels that we set back in was '84, and BCTV, I believe, yet has to achieve what it can achieve. And I think in order to do that, there's no doubt about it, they're going to need even more funding in the future. So that's got to be considered, whether it be a regular grant or whether it be some type of special grants, particularly in the need of capital equipment. Because with $128,000, you can't buy a lot of cameras, you can't buy a lot of equipment in that studio. And let me tell you folks, 13 years, that stuff is getting old. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and congratulations, and good luck in your budget deliveries.
Thank you very much, Dick. Appreciate it very much. The next person signed up is Walt Planet.
Good evening, Council. My name is Walt Planet. I live in the Huntington section of Bowie, and it's always a pleasure to follow Mayor Logue, as I did for many years. I'm glad he's let me speak tonight. I address 3 topics in the budget. My comments are based on published reports of your deliberations and other media statements made by some of you gentlemen and women, I think. First is the proposed funding for the seat in Belt Woods. Now, here I speak of process rather than the purpose of the funding. I read of a proposal to use $500,000 from the city tax-based land acquisition fund. This money is to go to what I think is a